Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Are you having fun? Are you enjoying yourselves? Are you full? All right. Well, it really is a pleasure to be here, and I want to really congratulate Sagal for this annual event that they put up every year. I want to commend them, and I would like to tell you, the audience, to make sure that you support what they're doing, because it's a very important component of our community. With that being said, I'm always very much humbled when I'm in an environment like this where I have to present my gift, but it's also a pleasure to do so. And before I get started, let me also mention that I do have a table over there that has a variety of books on it, and I'm going to talk about them very, very briefly. One of the books is called The Black Frog, written by a good friend of mine called Emmett Woods. He's in Alabama. And it's a book about knowing who you are and being confident in your identity. Sekulu and Harambe on the Zambezi River. This is a wonderful story, which is the Good Samaritan story told from an African perspective. And now let me put a shameless plug for one of my books, The Lion That Finally Roared. This is a powerful book about purpose and destiny, trying to get our children to understand that they can know who they are early as opposed to later on in life. My brand new book that's coming out in June is called Africa is Good. It's a series, Africa is Good 1 and 2. This book talks about the African culture. For those of us who are from Africa, it reinforces the values of our African culture. And for those of us who are unfamiliar with Africa, it gives you a glimpse as to how Africans live and their value system. And then finally, the book that I'm actually going to be reading tonight, I had a slight change and switch. I'm reading from my very first book called The Tales of Tortoise. And it's a book about wisdom, helping our children make better decisions. And based on that, I'm going to read from the very first story in the book. Or should I say, I'm actually going to paraphrase, and I'm just going to tell you a story from this book. A long, long time ago, and by the way, the name of this story is called How the Tortoise Got Cracks on His Back. Have you ever been asking that question? Has anybody ever asked the question, how the tortoise has cracks on his back? Does everybody know what a tortoise is?
Yep.
Now, it's very different from a turtle. A turtle lives in the water. A tortoise is its distant cousin who lives on the land. So I just want to make sure I clarified that. All right. So long, long ago, the birds decided that they wanted to show their love and appreciation to all of the other animals on the planet. And what did they decide to do? They decided, just like tonight, they're going to host a fantastic banquet up in the sky above the equator. Now, the birds were very meticulous and careful about preparing their invitations. And they sent their invitations all over the world. They went to the North Pole. They went to the South Pole. They went to the East. And they went to the West. In fact, the birds went all over until everybody was informed. Now, this banquet feast really got the animals very excited, and one particular animal who was really, really excited was Toby Tortoise. And Toby Tortoise was particularly interested because he already had a cunning scheme that he was about to put in place for the banquet feast. So what was the scheme? The day of the banquet, where the animals were about to be airlifted into the sky, Toby Tortoise told all of the animals, you know, before you go on a feast, it's a good idea to change your name. And so Toby Tortoise said, everybody, you pick a new name. People in the audience, look to your neighbor and pick a new name for yourselves. And so, after you've picked your new name, be very confident in that name. Toby Tortoise waited for everybody to pick their name, and then finally, he told them what his name was going to be. Can anybody guess what his name was? Let me tell you. It was all of you. So, off they go into the clouds, and birds started to airlift all of the animals into the clouds, into the equator, right above the equator. And all the birds, all the animals got seated. And then the birds started to bring out the first course meal, the appetizers. They brought out the spring rolls. They brought out the hors d'oeuvres. In fact, after they brought it out, they then said to all of the animals, "This food is for all of you." All of you? Well, just as the animals were about to start eating, Toby Tortoise jumped up and said, none of you can eat this food, because this food belongs to me. Did you remember before we came up into the clouds, we all took on new names? And my new name is? All of you. Thank you. And as a result, Toby Tortoise proceeded to eat the first course meal, all by himself. Well, the birds came back again. This time they brought the main course. Some of you have eaten the main course. They brought out the rice, the chicken, the hot dogs, the pork chops for those of us who eat pork. They brought out every spread that you could imagine. And then they said, "This food is being served for all of you." And once again, Toby Tortoise jumped up and said, none of you can touch this food, because before we came to the clouds, we all took on new names. And my new name is all of you. And began to eat the main course by himself. Now the thing was getting a little old. And when they brought out the dessert, as we say, the rubber met the road. Or should I say, stuff hit the fan, whichever way you want to go. So, by this time the birds were very, very upset. The animals were very upset. In fact, they were so upset, they had a plan for Toby Tortoise. And the plan was to throw him out of the sky. And they proceeded to grab him, but before they did so, Toby Tortoise quickly shouted down to his wife, "Makia, Makia." She had not gone to the banquet because she was sick. And he told her, "My dear wife, bring out of the house all of the soft items, quickly." But his wife did not hear him clearly, and she decided to go inside and bring out everything that she knew that was hard. Whether it was the bed, the stove, the refrigerator, she brought it all out. Toby Tortoise, looking from the sky, thinking that what was there was soft, decided to take matters into his own hands and decided to leap out of the sky by himself. And as he leapt out and he got closer to the heat, he realized it was too late and crashed into all of the hard items. He fell into a coma. And when he woke up, Toby Tortoise decided that instead of getting rid of his shell that had saved him from the fall, that he would glue them all back together. And now you know why the tortoise has cracks on his back.